had that post about features or whatever, what were some of your favorite ones that you saw on there and that you would like to see, Gov?
Um, I definitely still need my pinned posts. I know that's TechLord's personal campaign to get the pinned posts, and I need that bad. That would be great to, have my main post of the week pinned so that whenever someone visits, that's what they see. Or, for different pages that have kind of their documentation or the first thing that you want to see on the Minds panel channel page.
Yeah,
Um,
like the
you definitely want that up at the top, like if it's visions or
yeah,
whatever.
like the visions for the
Uh,
Minds panel would be perfect for that.
and I want that in groups too, simultaneously. So then the group admin or leader can decide that. Um, More features for group admins and more of a hierarchy, I guess, for group admins would be cool. If you could set permissions for certain levels of admins so that they can maybe you can have an open group where no one can post unless they, reach a certain status or whatever. They comment a lot and get that privilege to be able to start making submissions, kind of thing. That just giving users more granular control over all of their different aspects would be awesome.
Yeah. Techlers, did you were you able to see that one post where everybody was kind of giving their own little feature project? I mean, on bills.
Yes, yes, I have seen it. I've seen different ones actually, but I saw the main one. I saw the one you were talking about.
What were some of the stuff that stood out to you, or even your own personal stuff? We already talked about the pin, but anything else you want to add to that?
Well, there's tons of things we could add, but we can't do it all at the same time. As I said, with the new messenger, a voice call would be awesome, especially on the desktop version. Um, that's the pin post that, and uh, the more the better. I know that the Minds team is small. It's not like hundreds of people working around the clock to improve Minds. I know, I'm very conscious of that, but we need to prioritize and according to votes, I guess. So, and I think that system of voting is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really did seem to work well, and the community seemed to really respond to it. I mean, there were so many replies to Bill's post that I didn't even get to go through all of them, but I saw some of the main ones that were like most voted. And I think something too like that is that maybe this is kind of like a little bit in the future, but to help facilitate that voting is that maybe there's within the comments you could kind of like set it to where the most votes get raised to like the top or whatever, or you know what I mean. And so you have the highest ones up there already, and so it's kind of like ranked, especially if you're doing like a survey type of a post. I think that would be kind of neat.
Like maybe a automated poll, you give different choices, and people vote, and after a certain time, the results are shown, and I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've talked about it with Bill before. I've talked about it a little bit in Threema chat, we need to get you both on, just because it's really easy to send big group messages to everyone. But talking about polls, I know that I've talked about polls to Bill, as well as during that last post. Uh, Bill ended it earlier than anyone expected, and said that mine was the winner for having the most upvotes, but my comment was one of the first comments. So I don't know. I didn't really like that. There's always that idea that some of us have, bias towards us within the community or whatever, but more that I was trying to say that, there should be a set time that the polling ends. It should, do it in itself, and it shouldn't be based on whose comments are higher at the top and whose are at the bottom, because some people don't read through the whole thing. So yeah, when I was talking about it, I was talking about it as if it were an entirely new type of post, because right now we have text, we have photo, video kind of thing, and it would be a poll where you would set these different. But I've also tried to brainstorm some kind of system that users could submit options to the poll. So you could have maybe an open poll with a question, and users could submit their options for the poll. Maybe that would make it so that anyone could kind of input that.
Yeah, maybe like something like mine's like, okay, so now you know the side of the bar is kind of cleared up a little bit, because now that the messenger is like different from there. So maybe like underneath the groups, there's like some kind of polling icon, and then so you click on there, and kind of like it's like its own little group, and where it's kind of like a collective consensus of things. So yeah, people kind of like voted on what polls should be next. And of course, I think kind of like you have like the official Minds development team kind of always polling or seeing what the community wants. But then you have also too like maybe the community, what they are interested in. And it could be like, it doesn't have to be all like feature stuff. It could be like just interesting topics, like, oh, what's the most important thing going on in current events, or whatever, you know? Have you seen this poll or this post or whatever? But yeah, there's definitely I noticed that too, where especially after you get a lot of comments, it was kind of like whoever answered first kind of has more of a slant to it, because just by where it was landed on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally agree. And but polls would be nice, and with the option to add more items to the poll, and people could have the option of voting on either on any of the suggestions, or the written suggestions by the members. So that would be great, and that would anonymize everything. Of course, to determine who would get points, I mean, people some people are running after points, and I understand that perfectly. Me, I give them all away. So I give them to people who need it. But because I hardly use them. I boosted a post recently for 500 points, but it's very rare that I do that. Maybe I do that, maybe I boost it twice or three times maybe in a year. So it's not, I don't use them. But some people are more interested in points. So we'd have to find a balance. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, there definitely has to be a balance, but also to there's something to having that incentive. And we were kind of talking about this with on a different way, but with the landmines and developing these games, and it seems to really kind of like entice people to get involved. And I think the more people get involved, the better. And I mean, like, it's funny too, like, now that I do more with the Minds panel show, yeah, I use points more. But prior to that, I mean, I didn't really care about boosting anything. And I kind of have a good following, so like the people that want to see that I want to see the post, I tag them in there. And for me, it's more about like getting into like the quality and having discussions. But I mean, there's a lot of people too with the posts, and there should be a little bit of balance. And I think that's where we kind of like self-correct it as we go along. But Gus Spiders, your impressions on that?
Honestly, I'm on the edge of my seat with ideas for polling right now. Now that you started talking about a separate polling button on the sidebar.
Yeah, that would be great, huh?
You can go in there and actually vote on all of the things, and there'll be votes that actually matter and are secure in a certain way, and they'll end at a certain time, and they'll reward users based on what was set. That's better than the political system we've got going on right now. that you could have. It would be sort of featured, but maybe you go in there and there's a bigger bar for the bugs group, and they've got a few of the main polls featured right there for biggest feature request, the most detrimental bug maybe, and like something else, and those can be the main polls you go to vote on whenever they're in there, and then you scroll down and maybe you find a couple other groups you're interested in that have polls open, and you can vote on those, and you've actually left your opinion and made a difference by the time the timer goes off.
Yeah. I was just thinking right now too, as we were talking about this more. So it's kind of like Minds Common or Minds Center, so where we all kind of like meet up to like talk about basically Minds governance. It was funny because earlier I was in a meeting with Scenario and they were talking about scenario governance, and I think that's something for us to, and this is part of what makes Minds really great, is that they really care about the community and they want our input. And not only that, I think also too, it helps to prioritize things and make it a just more efficient way of doing things. And then once like the code too gets out there, then you can have your groups kind of go in there and people specialize in whatever their pet projects are. So it's kind of like I was just thinking about this because I was talking to Lee Travis, but like lobby voice, but for Minds. Like what do we think is important, and we have little groups that we lobby, and those different groups could probably go and execute said projects. I think that's like eventually what it'll evolve to.